So you walk into the music store and there it is, the giant wall of drumsticks. It's just a sea of wood staring right back at you with all these cryptic codes: 5A, 7A, 5B, nylon tip, carbon fiber sticks, aluminum sticks. The list goes on. You pick up a couple that may be different, 5A and 5B, let's say. They feel kind of the same, but a bit different. Those tiny number and letter changes can really alter your feel, your sound, and your whole vibe behind the drums. So what's the deal? And does it really matter that much? If you've ever felt totally lost in this maze of numbers, you are not alone. We're about to break down that entire system, go over all this jargon, and really demystify what those letters and numbers mean in conjunction with each other. And it'll show you that finding the perfect pair of sticks is really not that difficult at all. All right, let's tackle the most confusing part first of drumsticks, the numbers and letters. So you think that it would be pretty straightforward after looking at it first, but that's really not the case with drumsticks. The main rule to remember is the higher the number, the thinner the stick. Exact opposite of what you'd expect. So in this case, a 7A stick, they're gonna be thinner and lighter than 5A sticks. And 5A sticks are gonna be thinner and lighter than the hefty 2B sticks. So 7A sticks may be So 7A sticks may be your best bet if you're trying to go for something a bit quieter. Maybe you need more delicate playing, while a 2B is a really thick and beefy stick that's gonna be great for power, for really hard rock or metal genres, or where you really need that volume. And as you can see, these sticks are completely different sizes. Just trying to get that for the camera there. 2B, 7A. The number is all about the diameter. Thinner sticks like 7As are gonna be awesome, as I mentioned, for more delicate playing styles like jazz, or anytime you need a little bit more speed or maybe a little bit more nuance behind the drums. Thicker sticks like the 2Bs, as I mentioned, they're gonna be great for heavy hitting styles of music and really where you need to be heard behind the drums, especially over the guitarist. I'm looking at you. So what about the letters then? Okay, this is another story. So this goes back to how bands were categorized in the early 20th century. The letter was a clue for the stick's intended use. A stood for orchestra, and these were designed for lower volume gigs in theater pits. B stood for band, as in concert or brass bands, which needed a bit more punch, a bit more projection and volume. And S stood for street, which of course is more in line with marching bands. The thickest, heaviest stick really made for that volume. And you won't see a lot of S sticks made, but I can tell you that I used to use those in marching band in school, and they are really thick. You might even see D for dance band, or some older or specialty models, maybe some different letters in there, but these are the main ones that you will probably see the most with drumsticks. While you don't see many S models these days, the A and B labels have stuck around. As a general rule, a B stick will be a bit thicker than an A stick of the same number. So if you have a 5A versus a 5B, 5A, these are both ProMark, Hickory. This is the 5B, 5A. 5B is thicker. The B stick will be a bit thicker and heavier than the A stick of the same number. So 5B is beefier than 5A, making it really a staple for rock music and genres that are similar to that. And you may need just a bit more punch and volume without grabbing, you know, a log of a stick like 2Bs. So 2B, 5B, 5A. Can you spot the difference? 2B, 5B, 5A. 5A is considered the perfect middle ground. That's actually the stick that I've been playing with for several years. Before that, I played with 5Bs for several years. And before that, I actually played with 2Bs for several years. And then I was even playing some metal music at the very beginning of playing shows with 7A. So that was, you know, super light and more or less for the finesse and the speed of it, but I wasn't getting any projection or volume. 5As are my go-to now. The perfect middle ground stick. Lots of debate of people who prefer 5Bs over 5As. Completely subjective there, whatever works for your setup and your style of music. So the 5A is not too heavy, it's not too light, which is exactly why it's one of the most popular all-purpose drumsticks on the planet. Putting that all together, really a 7A is a thin, light stick for jazz. 5A is your versatile workhorse. 5B is a beefed up 5A essentially for rock music and similar genres. And the 2B is the heavy hitter. You may be playing metal or post-hardcore, some form where you really need that volume. Remember, this is just a guideline, as I mentioned. A 5A from one brand may feel totally different from another, kind of like how a size large t-shirt may differ depending on where you buy it from or what brand you get that from. Thirsty. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that now and hit the bell notification so that way you're notified every single time we upload a video here on 2 Musician. Thank you again, but what is your favorite drumstick so far as sizes go? Let me know in the comments below. Back to the video. Next section, this is really the material of the drumsticks, the type of wood or type of material, and where those differ. So we've went over the numbers and we've went over the letters with drumsticks. Let's talk about what the stick is actually made of. This is a huge deal. It's gonna affect your stick's sound. It's gonna affect the feel that you feel. Sounds weird. Behind the drums as you play with those different materials, different wood types. The undisputed king of drumsticks is gonna be hickory. That's, I feel like, pretty common knowledge. As you get more and more into drumming, you will see way more hickory sticks being sold, being bought than any of the other woods we're about to go over. There's a reason that is the most popular. Hickory hits the sweet spot between flexibility, shock absorption, and toughness. And when you strike a drum, the stick absorbs some of that impact instead of sending that straight to your wrists, straight to your arms with hickory, which is gonna help you play longer without fatigue. Hickory really does this perfectly, all while being durable enough to take a beating. When in doubt, you cannot go wrong with hickory drumsticks. Next up, we've got maple, and really for this, all these sticks that I'm pulling up, I don't really have any that are made of maple. Currently, I've broken the last pair of maple sticks I had, or the next wood we'll go over. But so maple is gonna be lighter than hickory, which you'll see a lot of companies make thicker sticks, and it doesn't really feel like you're swinging a tree branch, like with these 2B ProMark hickory sticks. These things are thick, dude. Maple sticks really feel super fast and responsive, making them great for you being able to really zip around the kit and get around where you need to go behind the drums. And really for players who prefer a lighter touch. There are a lot of drummers, a lot of comments that I see in my videos where people are like, maple all day. The catch, because they are less dense than hickory, they're not as durable as hickory drumsticks, and they will snap easier, or they may be more apt to snap easier with heavy hitters, or if you're doing lots of rim shots or whatever it may be. So it's really a trade-off. You get more speed, but you may not necessarily get as much longevity with those maple drumsticks. So on the other end of the spectrum, we have oak, and oak is the heaviest and densest of the common woods, and this just goes into how the oak drumsticks are made versus the hickory. I've done a video where I got actually a lot of people debating in there, and I'm not saying that, I have said it before, and I take that back because that was just my fault in putting out wrong information. But hickory is going to be harder than oak and denser. But the way that oak drumsticks are made, they're made to be to feel like they are denser and harder than hickory, even though in nature, hickory is going to be harder on the Jenko scale than oak. So I've said some things in the past. If I've said anything wrong in this video, let me know in the comments below. Not trying to steer anybody wrong here. So oak is going to be heavier and denser, especially than maple. So these sticks are going to be absolute tanks. And of course, I broke my last pair of oak sticks probably a year ago at this point, so I don't have any for this video to show you. But they're built to survive some serious punishment, which really makes them a favorite for hard rock or heavier genres like metal. So I did find my ProMark 5A Shirakashi oak drumsticks. I thought I broke them. They're almost broken, but these are them. They feel a lot more solid than the ProMark forward 5As. Because oak is so dense, it transfers a lot more vibrations to your hand. When you're playing and hitting really hard with oak drumsticks, you're gonna feel a lot more of that in your wrists, in your hands, you know, in your fingers versus hickory. Hickory absorbs that shock better than oak does. It's gonna transfer that vibration to your hands with oak, which some players don't really like. You know, if you're constantly blowing through pairs of hickory sticks, give a pair of Japanese oak sticks a try. And, you know, that's kind of a mixed thing. A lot of people say they can have their hickories. A lot of people say that their oak drumsticks may last longer than their hickory drumsticks, so give that a try. It may not be the case for you, but it is the case for a lot of drummers. So finally, you'll see synthetic sticks made from stuff like aluminum. These are power wrist builders. I would not play your drums with these. These are really heavy. They're made for practice pads, but these are aluminum sticks. You also see other synthetics like carbon fiber drumsticks, which you absolutely can play your drums with. The biggest selling point with carbon fiber sticks is the insane durability that they offer and the consistency in those drumsticks. So each pair is manufactured to be perfectly straight and weight matched. And some even have fancy features to reduce the vibrations that you feel, you know, from hitting really, really hard or doing those rim shots where you know you're gonna usually feel those vibrations. And so most drummers may still love the classic feel of wood, but synthetics are really a solid choice if you prize consistency and hate buying new sticks all the time. This is another thing that you could be subjective. I have had carbon fiber sticks last a really long time, but I've also gone through them quicker than I have certain pairs of hickory sticks. So take that with a grain of salt as well, but it is something that can be the case. You can have carbon fiber sticks last a really long time. Let me know in the comments below oh my gosh, how's it been for you with carbon fiber sticks? I would say it's a mixed thing. I've had them last really long, and I've also had them not last that long. I've played a ton of pairs of carbon fiber sticks throughout my career as a drummer as well. Oh my gosh. So if the number of the stick is the stick's general size and the wood is the core ingredient in the stick's anatomy, the taper and the tip is where the real magic happens. And these are different characteristics that you have to think about as well. This is where you know, things are fine-tuned, and this is really where rebound and specific sounds and the way you're able to control the stick happens as you're playing your drums and your cymbals. So let's get into that a little bit here. So let's start with the taper. That's a part of the stick that really slims down toward the tip. So I have a pair of Vic Firth 5A American Classics here, and I have a pair of ProMark Forward 5As here. The ProMark Forward 5As have a short taper, and the Vic Firth 5As have a medium taper. So what does that mean? Well, let's get into it. How long and gradual that taper is gonna dramatically change the stick's balance. So a long, gradual taper shifts the weight back toward your hand. In this case, with the medium taper, you're gonna have more weight toward your hand than with the short taper. This makes the front end feel lighter and more responsive. And so it's gonna give you a ton of rebound off your cymbals, and drummers who play, you know, maybe faster or more intricate patterns may prefer the long taper or the medium taper over the short, because the stick feels like it's doing more work. It's doing more work for you. You're getting more rebound with that weight difference there. The downside is that a thinner taper, the thinner neck, is going to be less durable for you over a short taper, or even a long will be less durable than a medium taper. Also, you know, a medium or a long taper are gonna not have as much power as a short taper will. And so if this, you know, these are both the same size, 5A, Vic Firth ProMark, medium taper on the Vic Firth, short taper on the ProMark. On the, if I pick up these 7A classics, which are Vic Firth, this is actually a long taper. So these are gonna give you a lot more finesse, not only because of the 7A size, but because the long taper, but not as much power. But you may feel you have more control with 7A sticks, more speed there. On the flip side, a short taper, as in these, you know, ProMark Hickory Forward 5A, it's gonna feel more front heavy, and these are actually the ones I prefer playing, and I've played ProMark for several years. But these short tapers, they're gonna give you way more power and a driving attack, making it really awesome for rock or for heavy metal or anywhere where you really need that power. But it's gonna give you more volume and more durability, and I've noticed that with the Vic Firths. Most of the time I end up breaking the taper on Vic Firths over ProMark. So the short taper is gonna give you more volume, but it's gonna offer less rebound and can feel a bit clumsy for delicate playing. So a medium taper, which is, you know, what's in these Vic Firth 5As are really the middle ground between the short taper and the long taper. So now for the next line of business, the tip of your drumstick. The tip shape and material are gonna completely alter the sound, especially on the cymbals, and especially when you're playing specifically with the tips of the drumsticks. So the basic rule is a smaller tip is gonna give you a brighter and more focused sound, while a larger tip surface is gonna give you a warmer, fuller sound. So an acorn tip produces, and I don't know if I have any here because I think that the Vic Firth is a teardrop shape, and then this is an oval on the ProMark. Yeah, so I don't know that I actually have an acorn shape here. And some of these terms can be interchangeable, I think, and really have similar sounds. So you'll just have to look at how the tip looks of the drumsticks. Acorn tips are gonna produce a rich, complex tone. Oval tips that are on these 5A ProMarks here are really a great all-rounder for broad, warm sounds. Barrel tips have a flat surface that give you a loud, punchy sound, and that's perfect for rock and heavier styles of music. And a small ball tip creates a super bright, clean ping with amazing stick definition, which is why it's a favorite for detailed cymbal work. So now that we covered that, what are you playing with? Drop a comment below, let me know. What is your favorite stick tip? Finally, we have the great debate, which is wood versus nylon tips. So wood tips are gonna give you a warmer, darker, more organic sound behind the drums. They're the traditional choice. They're my favorite choice. I've never had a lot of great things happen with nylon tips. I've always had them fly off, and then I don't see it, and then by the time it's too late, I look down and there are dents all of my drum heads because the tips of the nylon tips have flown off, and literally I'm just digging these tipless drumsticks into my drum heads, and then I have to end up replacing my drum heads. That's always been the case for me. It's why I'm always like really anti nylon tip drumsticks. But the bad thing about traditional wood tips is they're gonna chip and wear down over time. I've had that happen with wood tips where I just break the tips off the drumsticks, and that stinks too, because then I don't have an even sound. I have to change drumsticks. I'm not gonna be able to play with tips when they're broken off the wood, tip sticks. So it's gonna change your sound. Nylon tips, they're gonna create a much more bright, harder, and cutting sound, especially with cymbal work. And they'll give you a super clean, glassy ping when you're messing around on the cymbals, whether it be the bow or the bell on the hi-hat, doing hi-hat work. It's gonna give you that ping, and it's gonna slice through the mix as well. And so, take that with a grain of salt. There are a lot of people who would debate me about this and say, nylon tips are way better. You can't change my mind, which once again, this is subjective. These are just some facts and also sprinkled in there with my experiences. Everybody has different experiences, so take that with a grain of salt. So, you know, we've gone over the numbers, we've gone over the letters, we've gone over materials, tapers, and tips in this video. It's been a really long video, but I wanted to make this as comprehensive as I could, going over drumsticks so that you can take this information with you. So think about how you want to play. Think about your ride cymbal. You know, if you play with big wood acorn tips, you're going to get warm. You're going to get a warm, shimmering wash sound. If you switch to small nylon ball tips, suddenly that wash is gone and it's replaced with a bright cutting ping sound. And so that's the power of the tip really in action there. So really after that, it comes down to feel. So, you know, if you pick up a pair of 7A maple sticks with a long taper, they're gonna feel really light. It's gonna feel like you're playing with toothpicks. And so it's gonna be easier to play softer ghost notes, but if you grab a pair of 2B sticks with a short taper, they're gonna feel solid and powerful, like you can lay down a really strong backbeat or just that snare crack that is really gonna have to cut through the guitars and the vocals, the bass guitar, whatever it may be. The difference is really night and day with those drumsticks. So with all these options, where should a beginner really start? And if you were to ask me, I would say 5A hickory drumsticks. And specifically, I would really go with the forward 5A, and this is just my personal preference. They do have a shorter taper, so you may not feel like you have as much finesse, but they have, not only is 5A just super versatile, as I mentioned, but they have the oval tips in them, which is super versatile. It's gonna give you that broad, warm sound, as I mentioned earlier. So it's the average stick, and you could always go with the Vickfirth 5A, which have medium taper, which that's the perfect middle ground. But then you look at the teardrop shape, and that's gonna give you a different sound a little bit than the oval. May not be as warm with that sound that you're looking for. Start making your choice, start going to music stores, go to Guitar Center, go to your local music store and just pick up every pair of drumsticks you can and start playing on the practice pad. If they have drum kits out that they let you play on, ask them if you can play the drum set and use those different sticks to figure out what works for you. So the truth is, the ultimate drumstick doesn't exist. The perfect stick for a jazz player may be the exact opposite for someone who plays rock. And that may be the exact opposite for someone who plays heavy metal. And you just keep going down the line. Someone who just strictly does marching band music may have a lot heavier stick than someone who plays metal music. So we've broken down the code. The numbers tell you the thickness. The letters hint at the weight. And you have the different types of wood. You also have the synthetic materials, and then you have the taper and the tip shape, or if it's a nylon tip, you know, the tip material there. But all this is gonna get you so far. Go out there and pick up a pair of drumsticks and figure out what works for you. But until next time, this has been a long video. Thanks for staying attuned. Oh, I didn't even go over these, dude. There's hybrid sticks out there too. There's like different sticks like, these are brush sticks, but then there's sticks like, what are those sticks called? The hot rod sticks. Those are great for late night practices where you need less volume, and they've got great balance in those. Dude, I've been talking so long, I feel like my voice is going out.